Okay, so we have already, my, in my opinion, when you're gonna sew your hair in, I would have more than one needle ready with thread already, just because it saves you a lot of time. So what we're gonna start off with is, okay, I showed you guys the difference in the wefts. So I'm going to use the weft that has the lip. So it has, and I'm going to sew through the weft, okay? And that's why it's so important to know which type of hair you're dealing with, because like Argeny hair, I've seen it has really thick wefts and it's hard to sew through them, but I'll show you how to sew around also. Um, okay, anyway, so here we go. First, you want to start it off. You have your knot at one end. I'm kind of sloppy sometimes, and I don't. But you can cut it off. Cut that little piece off right there. Um, and you always want to go in the back side of the end that you're going to use. So if my hair is going to lay this way, I'm going to come in the back side of this weft, through the weft. Okay, and that's going to catch. Get on camera. That's going to catch. So that's how you're going to start it, okay? So we're going to start on this end. And what you basically do is, you don't really, unless you're doing a high ponytail or something like that, you don't want the hair to be at the bottom of the braid like this. You kind of want it to sit firmly on top of the braids, and that's even if the braids were going vertical. You want them to sit, which you wouldn't have that problem if they were going vertical, because you're going to, of course, sew on top. But if your braids are going horizontal, you want to make sure that you're kind of in the middle of the braid and not at the bottom and not too far at the top. Because if you get too far at the top, the hair can kind of bulk out like this. So you want it to just kind of lay nicely flat in the middle. So go under the braid where you want the hair to start, okay? Then to secure your first, to secure that first part, you're going to kind of make a loop. If you see, you can see that. That's how we're gonna, you gotta make sure you have your loop. Come back under on that same side, and you can actually pull the weft out if you can't, do it with it on the braid. Pull your weft out, come back under the braid, but go through the middle and go into your track right next to where your knot is, because this is just securing the hair, okay? So you see you have a little loop and you're bringing it through that loop. And you just pull, kind of tug on the weft if you had to pull the weft out so that it's all flat. Make sure the end of your thread does not get caught, like right here. I really hope y'all can see this. Okay, like I was saying, you want to make sure that the end of the thread does not get caught. Okay? So you want it all right there in the middle. And you just pull it tight. Make sure that it's tight. So now that you have, you can do that 2 or 3 times just to make sure that it's secure. There's nothing wrong with, a little extra security in your, in the beginning. So do it a couple of times, and that way you know that that end is not going anywhere. But you want to, you know, make the stitches right close together, okay? And just pull it tight. So that's not going anywhere, right? And then after that, you basically proceed across the braid. Now, like I said, this weft has a lip on it. So while sewing through it, you want to make sure that your needle goes through the lip part because it's the thinnest part of the weft. And it's just easier, especially if you're just starting out. However, if you're doing your own hair, it may be a little hard to find where the lip is. So just do what you can do. So just to continue on, I braid downwards. I sew downwards. Some people sew upwards, especially if you're using a curved needle. But I use a straight needle, so I sew downward. So I go down through the braid, through the weft. Again, making this kind of loop. Can you guys see my loop? Making this kind of loop, and you're braiding right through your loop. And it's going to make kind of a, I don't know what you call it, but, and you just want to, you don't want to go more than a finger to your next stitch. Now if you have braids going vertical, you just sew from braid to braid. But if your braids are going horizontal, you just want to use about a finger's width to your next stitch. Okay? And you just continue on. Once you get really good at it, you don't have to pull the weft back to, you know, go through the braid, then pull the weft back, then go through the weft. You can just do it all at once. So you just hold your weft tight. And that is how I do my loop method. It's not going to be perfect, but it works, okay? Now, the next way that you can do it, and I'm just going to continue right on with this braid, is you don't necessarily have to do the loop method. You can do, and this works well if you're using a curved needle, you can go up, like, I'm still going through my weft, but I'm just going to sew around and around without making the little loop. It's really hard for me not to make the loop because that's kind of what I do. But you're just going around and around the braid. I don't like this way, but some people, if it's easier for you to do it this way, then do it this way. Because trying to focus on making the loop, especially if you're just learning, can be hard. But this is just basic. You're going up through your weft, under your braid. Okay? Through your weft, under your braid. Nothing hard about that. Same effect. Through your weft. Under your braid. You can also go the other way, which is downwards. So through your braid. This way is going to take longer because you got to find your weft. So through your braids, through your weft. Which way are we going? Oh, down. Through your braid, through your weft. Again, I prefer not to use these two methods, but up, see, it's just habit to form my loop. But through your braid, through the weft. Okay, and it just makes a regular sewing stitch, like nothing fancy. And as you can see, it's uniform all the way across. It's not going to be as flat because my braids suck. I hate Monique's hair. That's my doll, Monique. Okay, so we got that out of the way, right? So let's cut that off. Now I'm going to show you how to sew around your braid. And I'm sorry, around your weft. So I'm just going to come to this next braid up here. Disregard all this at the bottom. Really hope y'all can see it. Okay. Now if you were starting this off, you would start off the same way. But since I'm just moving to the next braid and I still have thread left, I'm just gonna, and this is how, you could do it when you get to the new braid and you run out of hair. Okay, so we're gonna start at the end. We're gonna sew around the weft, okay? So the same method as number 1. I'm not gonna do all 3 methods. The first method with the loop, that's how we're gonna do it. And basically you're coming right where the weft stops and the hair begins, and you're coming through it. So if you can see that, this is where my thread is coming through, and as you pull it through, you want to make sure that your thread does not get bunched up like that, because it will, and that it's flat. So it's just going right up under that weft. So let's do it again, just right. And when you pull it, it's gonna pull itself to the the bottom of the weft anyway. So you can kind of just you don't have to be as strategic about it, but you do have to make the stitches closer together, because if you make them so spread out, the hair will gather from stitch to stitch. So I'm just going under. I'm really just hitting my braid that's under there. So through the hair and under. Okay? Again, I'm making my loop and I'm making my stitches close together. So through the hair, under the braid. Through the hair, under the braid. And again, if you can see here how the hair gathers from stitch to stitch, because it's not going through the weft, it's going through the hair. So it's going to gather. So you don't want to stretch it like way over here, because the hair is going to gather on you like that. See that? It's going to gather to where so you just want to keep it really close together. And if you're making a wig, all of these same rules apply if you're doing like a 3/4 wig. Okay.